their team meet in your neighborhood? What's their livelihood? They'd run if they could. Oh, who will Greg T meet in your neighborhood? The people that he'll meet each day.
Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out again. It's another episode of Greg T's Neighborhood. And look who I got today. The one, the only, the iconic Jerry Springer is in the house. Jerry, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for hanging out inside Greg T's Neighborhood.
Well, it's great to be in your neighborhood. It's great to be hanging out in that. It's great to be in the house.
That's right.
Because normally I'm just walking on the street. I have no place to go. Can I come in? No, sorry.
So Jerry and I are sitting here. We're just getting to know each other. We're talking a little bit about, what's happening with television and streaming. And, Jerry, when you first started off your career, there was no streaming. There was no Apple TV. There was no Netflix.
We didn't have cell phones.
Right. No cell phones, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I've been in radio now here at iHeart for 27 years. And same thing, my first cell phone was working here years ago. They said, we want you to go out onto the streets and call into the radio station. And I said, where, from a payphone? And they said, no. And they gave me this big box. And they said, you aim it at the Empire State Building, and it plugs into the lighter, and then you'll be able to talk to us. It was so bizarre. And now here we are today with smartphones.
Oh, yeah, I know. And it's changed the whole television industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that, where years ago you'd have to tune in at the exact time to watch your show, but now you can tune in however you like on a streaming service and watch you, I guess, whenever I'm relaxed at home?
Well, it doesn't. I mean, that's technology. That's progress. I'm sure that, when television first came out, and I remember when it did first come out, people were saying, oh, that's the end of radio. That's the end of people won't go to the movies anymore.
Right.
So the changes we're having in technology and in our lifestyle, that's inevitable. So it's we can have all discussions about whether we like it or not. It's here. It's coming. There's going to be even more of it. And the industry has to figure out how it can monetize it.
Sure.
Because somebody has to pay for producing the movies.
Yeah. You're right.
The people aren't going to work for free.
That's right.
And if you can't do it by selling commercials anymore, then you have to figure a different way of doing it. And how do you do it so that people can afford it? Because the one great thing about, just commercial television is that, for years you could get it for free. You just had to buy the TV set and then, turn it on. That's changing, and we're seeing what's happening. I mean, nothing on television except live events.
Right.
That's the only thing where there seems to, like the Super Bowl, a presidential election.
Right. That's what we're watching at home. But we're not watching TV like we used to watch TV.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And even the live events are eventually going to, even that, people are now starting to, if you can watch the Super Bowl on your phone, you don't need to. The Super Bowl works because it's an excuse for everyone to have a party.
And Jerry, there was a time, at first you have you have Carson, and then it goes into Letterman, it goes into Leno, and you watch these talk shows as they grow, and then you have the two Jimmys on TV now, and then here's your show as well. It seemed to take, you took the audience to a different level. You pushed that envelope because people, when they turned on Jerry Springer, they had never seen people get so angry and animated and throw chairs and the things that they were talking about on your TV show sometimes were almost like taboo. Like these are things that happen inside people's houses or in their lives, but never really, never really on television. So you have elevated television to a different level yourself.
Well, yeah, it wasn't intended to, but as it turned out, it did. What was new about our show was that up until then, this was 1991, American television had basically been upper middle class white, and all the shows had those kind of people on.
Sure.
Whether it was Seinfeld, Frasier, Friends, they were all well scrubbed. Up, as I said, upper middle class white people.
I understand.
All of a sudden, on our show, we saw people that had never been on television before, and that all of us, it wasn't like we didn't know that exists. All you have to do is walk down any street in America and you see everything you ever saw on our show. But that the fact that it was on television was something new, and that brought people to suddenly watch it, to talk about it. And so, we had this great run. But now you look at that compared to what our kids are watching on social media every day and talking about every day.
Of course.
So it wasn't that our show had something that people weren't aware of.
Right.
It was more that it had never been in their living rooms on television before. It may well have been in their living rooms in real life.
But you got to be proud of it, because you figure, Jerry, like you said, nobody saw this, and you brought it into our living rooms. And of course, then there's spin-offs, and people, of course, want to be like you. But you were the original. People would look back and say, "No."
And I'd like to formally apologize.
No, why? You should be so proud of what you did. You changed the way we watch television. You made people want more out of their TV. You did.
Well, I guess you're kind to say that.
But come on.
But, in order to be a talk show host, there's three things you have to be able to say. You did what?
That's right.
Come on out. We'll be right back.
That's right.
And if you can do those 3 lines, you've got a career.
Who did it better than you?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Those 3 lines, I owned them.
You did. I think you're so right, and you should be proud of that. You did. You did own it. And everybody that came on after you, they said, well, how is Jerry Springer doing it? We want to do it like that because he's getting these ratings. People are watching. We were glued in. So it didn't matter about streaming then. You were in front of your TV. If you missed an episode of Jerry Springer, everybody was talking about it. You didn't see that guy do this. You didn't see that lady do that. You pushed television to where we are today. You definitely were a stepping stone to where TV is today.
Yeah, but some people would argue that isn't good. So
how can it not be good if you move the meters? You move the meters. You know what?
Yeah.
Some people would argue, you know what? They made a lot of money off of you, Jerry
I just
Springer.
never thought that someone who could be on my show would be president.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that is really, really good.
And that's what I've been living with. So we paid for that. Look, I've been very lucky. I've had this wonderful, wonderful career, and obviously, I'm very, very appreciative.
Yeah.
But I say it all the time. Life is 99% luck.
There's a lot of people,
and I got lucky.
Do a lot of people know your background? Like, for instance, and I don't know if this audience does that's listening to us right now. Just real quick, where were you born and raised? Where are you from?
I was born in London, England. Most of my family was exterminated in the concentration camps of Nazi Germany. My family was German Jewish. My grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins, they all, as I said, were killed. And Mom and Dad got out of Germany. They managed to escape and get to England 2 weeks before Hitler went into Poland to start World War II.
Wow.
And then my sister and I were born in England during the war. And when I was 5 years old, my parents bought 4 tickets on the Queen Mary, and they and my sister and we came to America, to New York, and I grew up in New York. I grew up in Queens.
Yeah.
Second floor. So that was my background, and my parents learned English, and I started the first grade here in America, and in New York I went to PS 99, Russell Sage Junior High, Forest Hills High School.
Wow.
The whole New York upbringing. And then diehard Yankee fan.
There you go.
And then they didn't even have the Mets when I was a kid. It was the Yankees, Dodgers, and Giants.
Wow. Yeah.
And then, I went away to college, Tulane University in New Orleans.
Sure.
And then I went to law school, graduated law school at Northwestern University in Chicago. I went to work for Bobby Kennedy. Then when he was killed, which was just a few months later, I was recruited by a law firm, big corporate firm in Cincinnati, moved there. I was very active in politics.
So you're a lawyer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
Amazing. Go ahead.
Yeah. You need one?
No, maybe.
All right. Yeah.
We're good. No,
Here,
this is
here's my card.
But this is great. I'm telling
give me
you,
a call.
nobody.
You got a problem.
Who else would really know all of this about you? They have to do the research, and people today don't do research. But this is a great. I mean, I'm getting a chance to sit down and talk to Jerry Springer and really get in depth a little bit with you, which is fantastic. I didn't even think this was going to go this way. So I love it. Keep going.
No, well, anyway, so then I was, I was very active in the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement. And then for 10 years, I was on city council and was elected mayor of Cincinnati.
Wow.
And then when I finished being mayor, NBC hired me to be the news anchor for the Cincinnati affiliate. Mm-hmm. And I did that for 10 years. We were pretty dominant in the ratings, and the company that owned the station in Cincinnati also owned Phil Donahue and Sally Jesse Raphael.
Right.
And Phil was retiring, so one day the CEO took me to lunch, and he said, Phil's retiring, we're starting another talk show, and you're going to host it. So I was assigned to it. It wasn't like I auditioned or anything I ever wanted to do in life. I was an employee, and that was my job. And then all of a sudden, as you know, the show took off, and there you go. So
I tell you,
how that happened.
You got me, and you caught a piece of my heart when you started talking about how things started for your family. So my like many people, my grandparents were Polish. They lived on a farm in Poland. Yeah. Nazi soldiers came to the house, shot and killed my great grandfather off a horse in the farm. Forced my grandparents to leave the house off their land. My grandmother was 8 months pregnant with my father at the time. My mother gave birth to my father in a German concentration camp. No doctors in the field. They stayed there trapped for a couple of years till they were able to escape to come to America as well. My grandmother would always say, bless her heart now, she's passed now a couple of years, but she would say on Thanksgiving, she sees these cruise ships, and she'd say, we didn't come here with a beautiful cruise ship. Yeah. We sat in the bottom next to a boiler, people, vomiting at the bottom of the ship, how we got here with a nickel in our pocket, made it out to St. James, Long Island somehow, worked on a farm in St. James, Long Island for many years till they were able to navigate themselves to other family and then start their own family here in America, and then of course my father and then here we are today. My father met my mother and gave birth to me. I went to college at Fairleigh Dickinson University. Some kid at the radio station at Fairleigh Dickinson says, "Hey, let's go get jobs in radio. It'll be really fun." And I'm like, "All right, let's go." Yeah. We drove over to Z100, and they're like, "All right, we'll give you a job." And they were letting us run errands for the DJs, and I'm like, "I never planned on doing this." And then here I am, 27 years later, hosting my own show on KTU, and you never know how it all happens. I didn't try to get a job at Z100, and it's just it's amazing. I think we're blessed, Jerry. We are. I think that somebody watched out for you. Somebody watched out for me, and they took care of us. And you made it all the way to where you were, and now you are, the guy. You're iconic. You are a legend. And hopefully one day, I don't know if I'll ever be a legend, but hopefully one day, maybe I will.
Yeah, it's you're kind, and you're obviously incredibly successful in what you're doing. So as long as you love every day what you're doing. Yeah. It doesn't matter what title they put on you or what, it's very nice when people like you and say nice things about you. Obviously, that's very nice. But the most important thing is that the people who are in your life, they love you. Yeah. Then that's where the real satisfaction comes. I got two daughters at home. Of the business. I'm learning about my daughters. One's 14, one's 12, and they both think that they're 21. And I'm not sure that they think I'm pretty cool anymore. Now I'm at the age where they think I'm like, oh, that's dad. I'm boring. Yeah. Well, I've lived with that. Yeah. Now I've got a grandson. And, okay. Yeah, and he's great. And, all right. But he's turning 13, so I'm about to lose it.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something now. So, and this, listen, I got to tell you, I love that you were willing to open up to me a little bit and tell me a little bit about your real life story. This is so neat to see the man behind the show, that everybody says, oh, Jerry Springer, oh, they're throwing chairs. Oh, he's Judge Jerry. Oh, this is so great to actually see and feel and hear who you really are. It's really terrific. So you're in the middle of season 3 of Judge Jerry. How do you like this?
I really love doing the show.
You do?
I do. But I'm 78.
Okay.
And I've been...
You're a spring chicken.
And, well, I'm a springer. Yeah. I'm a Springer chicken.
Yeah.
So, but I think, including politics, 50 years in front of the camera, I'm slowing down.
Are you?
I don't have the fire in my belly I had, while I was...
Yeah.
When you reach a certain age, now you want to smell the roses.
Yeah, I understand.
So, if somebody comes with some wonderful idea, will you do this? Will you do that? But I'm not seeking to expand a career anymore.
I got you.
Now, if I can watch my grandson and go to his baseball games,
Are you proud of your career? Are you happy where you are today?
Well, I'm very happy.
Is there anything that you would ever? Do you have any regrets? Something you'd want to go back and redo again, or are you happy? Like, do you ever look back? Do you look back and say, "Look at what I've accomplished"?
Actually, I don't. I'm enjoying it as I'm in it, and I realize. Look, people talk about what your legacy is going to be, stuff like that.
Yes.
Honestly, that's nonsense.
Really?
I'll tell you why.
I'm all ears.
Okay. No one, except your kids and your grandkids one day, they're the only ones that are ever going 20 years from now, 30 years from now, are going to remember who you are. Unless you've been a president and there's a school named after you or an avenue. I mean, if you ask every American to give me the maiden name of their grandmother, 99% of them won't, but now you might. Because
I'm trying to think, and I'm going to say my one grandmother, her maiden name was Stefanski.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have a particular history of your family. But beyond that,
I see what you're saying.
No one is, what characteristics did she have? What did she look like? Well, we don't know that.
Points taken.
And that's true of virtually everybody.
Okay.
A few years ago, we had a meeting at our show, and I made some reference to Jack Benny. Mm-hmm. Now, in my lifetime, Jack Benny was like Seinfeld was in the 90s. I mean, Jack Benny...
If you're listening to the episode right now and you don't know who Jack Benny is, do yourself a favor, honestly. Just please.
Okay.
Nowadays, you can say, just Google him, because that's the era we're living in now.
Right.
Google Jack Benny.
Okay, but and everyone was just sitting around the office because they're all in their 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
They're all staring at me. Mm-hmm. So, and if Jack Benny isn't on people's consciousness, say, why do we think any of the rest of us are going to be?
Yeah.
So what you want to do is be a good model for your kids and your grandkids.
Right.
Because those memories, just like I always think about my parents,
sure,
that's a strength that during tough times, that memory gets you through what you're going through.
Gotcha.
That's significant. That's what you concentrate on. But everything else that we're going to be remembered, that is such ego. The only thing that's going to be on my tombstone is, I won't be right back.
You know what? Okay, that was very funny. I wasn't expecting that closing line, but because you've got me, you've captivated me.
Yeah,
really.
I need a bigger audience.
No, but you've captivated me, and I'm looking at a man who I watched on television, who I would sit there and say, did you see what they did on the Springer Show? And people would talk about you, whether I was out to lunch, whether I was, driving around getting gas, people would mention the Jerry Springer Show. So to hear Jerry Springer himself look back and say, it was a good show, I had a good run, now I want to relax and I want to watch, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, does Jerry not realize who Jerry Springer really is? I mean, you touch so many people because you got us away from our normal everyday life and we were able to turn it on and say, look at these other people on TV. You move the meters. You move television. Television. You were one of the people that moved television.
But imagine if I were a doctor, I'd be saving lives.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
In other words, it's what
Wow. Wow.
What I'm saying is,
I get it.
if I were driving a truck,
I get it.
I'd be the same person. Mm-hmm. It's just that more people watch me do my job than watch a guy who's driving the truck.
Okay.
But it doesn't make me any better of a person than the guy who's driving the truck.
Okay,
It's just,
I will
we're
say.
all the same. It's just some of us get lucky.
Yep.
And we wind up getting paid more, and it's not based on the contribution you necessarily make to society.
Okay,
I mean, how does a baseball player, and I love baseball.
Go ahead.
But
Yeah.
how does a baseball player make $300 million?
Please.
You know.
Please. I ask myself all the time.
Because he has a particular talent that 99.999% of people don't have.
I get
and
you.
we enjoy watching it. But that's luck. God gave him this incredible talent.
I do
but
know
it
what you're
doesn't
saying.
make you a better person. It just makes you wealthier.
I have two sisters. They both were A students. They both went to University of Maryland. They had great careers. My one sister, then she went to NYU to get her doctorate. Me, class clown in high school, went to Fairleigh Dickinson University, didn't really do much of my life. Ended up getting this job at Z100, working for one of the biggest morning shows in America, the Elvis Duran Morning Show. You know, I was able to actually be on your show one day as a stand-in, as one of those bouncer guys.
Yeah.
Here I am hosting my own show. My family, whenever we have Thanksgiving.
Well, another guy who was a bouncer has his own show now.
I know.
Steve Wilkos.
He did very well for
that's it.
himself.
If you want to have a future, you become a bouncer on my show.
Look where you met. But
Yeah.
my parents, my grandparents, everybody would say, Greg, how's it going? How's the show?
That
and I
would
would
be
say,
a great show. We should get Where Are They Now?
Yeah.
Look at all the bouncers we've had on our show and follow their careers. Some have done very well. Jason now has this gym that in Chicago. Steve, obviously, with the show. Yeah. But
I like it. Look at it. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
We found a new show that Jerry Springer's going to host.
You've got this radio show. I mean, I'm telling you.
But I relate with what you're saying because
bouncing is the stepping stone to success.
There you go. And you know what? We want to find other bouncers at clubs, at big-time clubs or lounges that they were once a bouncer. Where are they today?
Yeah.
You thought they were nothing but just like a goon, and now there's somebody successful.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And we could even do a prison version.
You're right. You're right. Nobody's doing it.
That are now.
Nobody's doing Where Are the Bouncers
prison.
today?
Yeah.
No one's doing it.
Where are they now?
Well, listen, I'm
They
saying the same
always
thing.
do celebrities, former celebrities. Where are they now? But no one ever does.
Right,
with
they don't
bouncers.
go down low.
Where
they don't go,
are they now?
Right, the ones that were there, that were putting their lives on the line, they're getting into fights, the big brutes. Right, where are they today?
Yeah.
But my family would say something, how's the show going? I'd say, talk to my sisters. Look at what they're doing. One's a psychologist, the other one's a doctor. Like, talk to them, And they wanted to talk to me about the stupid things I did on the radio. And I would say the same thing. What am I doing? I make people laugh by pulling my pants down. This is funny. This is what's making, my donation to society is nothing. And people would say, but don't you get it? You're helping us out. You take us out of our normal routine. Sort of what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of relate with you there. I really do. So Jerry, what do you like about being Judge Jerry?
Well, it's what I enjoy. Well, first of all, it's the only job I was ever trained for.
Right, you're a lawyer.
Yeah. So I enjoy it. I enjoy working out a puzzle every day.
Okay.
And the pieces are the plaintiff and the defendant. Mm-hmm. They come with a story that is important to them. That's why a lawsuit was brought.
Right.
And you try to work something out by being fair. And once you figure out what is fair, then you have to figure out how does that fit within the law. Because sometimes the law isn't fair.
Ah, that's
good. That's the struggle.
I bet you a lot of people will tell you that.
Because you know what the technicality of the law is.
Right.
But you don't know why that particular law was put in. It could have been in because there were lobbyists that, had a particular financial interest or whatever. So you have to figure out, or maybe the people that wrote that law weren't considering this particular situation. So what you want to do, as I said, is, I look at it as if I'm the father or the grandfather to the people in front of me. And what would I, if my daughter came to me when she was younger, or if my grandson comes to me and says, "Oh, Pa, this is what I'm dealing with," how would I answer that? I wouldn't yell at them. I wouldn't be disrespectful of them. I would try to figure out what is really the fair thing, explain why I'm deciding the way I am, and sometimes the decision is not pleasant to them. Mm-hmm.
But it's the right decision to make.
But it's the right thing, and as long as they understand it and know it's not being done because I dislike the person.
I was just going to say, is it hard to make the right decision if you like somebody but they're wrong? And
Well, sure. Yeah, that's just a normal human reaction. I mean, how often do we say, "Oh boy, I got to tell them this, I got to tell them that,"
Right.
But it's the thing you got to do. Mm-hmm. Sure, it's more difficult, but at least with the cases that come on television, they're not life and death cases.
Right. Not
small claims. So
sure,
but it's interesting to work out the puzzle, and I really enjoy it. I wish it was a show I would have started when I was younger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's interesting.
But but the years that I've been doing it, I've really enjoyed it.
Where do you see TV going? I mean, if somebody, who else would we ask? You got to ask somebody that's a legend in the business. So I'm asking Jerry Springer, where do you see the future of television, the future of shows? What do you think's coming up? What are we looking for?
Well, what we have seen in television, and it will continue in terms of entertainment, mm-hmm. is the democratization of our culture. In other words, it's the people that decide. When, 50 years ago, there'd be a few people sitting in Hollywood or in New York, and they would decide who the next singing stars will be, who the movie stars will be, who the great actors will be. They made a decision, and we're going to give you a contract to make an album, and we're going to promote the album. They picked the stars.
Right.
And when you watch television, you watch these professional people perform. And then all of a sudden we had talk radio. Mm-hmm. And talk radio, for the first time, the audience became the entertainment. You would listen to the calls coming in, and that was entertaining.
That's
just
right.
Regular people calling up.
Yep.
And then it went to television with like Phil Donahue, and you would watch Phil Donahue because of the people in the audience would have questions for the guest.
Right.
And then we moved to interactive. Mm-hmm. And so now all of a sudden you had like America's Got Talent, American Idol, where the big house or whatever, Big Brother.
You realize, though, you skipped over yourself, right? You went from Donahue to American Idol. You still are not including yourself in moving it.
Yes, but all of a sudden it's regular people who decide who the next stars are going to be.
Right.
They vote for themselves.
Sure, I understand
that. So they vote. You, the viewer, gets on the show, and the viewers decide. They vote on who stays on the island. Mm-hmm. They vote on who's the next American Idol.
I get that.
So that's what I mean.
By being interactive. I get you, okay.
So Kelly Clarkson starts out on American Idol.
That's right. Now she's got her own talk show.
Yeah, and it's the people that put them there.
Gotcha.
So that's what I mean about the democratization of the industry and of all entertainment, is that we, the audience, become our own entertainment. And we decide who the next stars will be, not just a couple of executives sitting in offices in New York or Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that trend, which is accelerated by technology, mm-hmm. it permits us now that instantly we can decide who we're going to watch.
Who's a celebrity and who's not. That's
and it's
right.
someone that has the most hits on Instagram.
100%. You're right. You're absolutely correct.
So that has changed. And
that's right.
Television is just a part of it.
That's right.
Radio is a part of it.
Yep.
Everyone has to adapt to the changing technology and the changing times. So it doesn't even matter what do we think about it. The fact is, it's here. It's never going to go away.
No, it's not.
Every generation complains, well, it's not like it used to be. No, it isn't. You get new people with new ideas, new inventions, new technology, and
so then maybe, Jerry, maybe my question might have been wrong. Maybe my question should be, Jerry, when will it be that society says, whew, okay, this is enough? So we're still going, right? Technology, everything's taking us there, right? We have TikTok kids that are doing a song for 30 seconds, becoming national celebrities.
And I promise you,
so when does it stop then?
I promise you, 10 years from now, people are going to laugh at people that did TikTok. What was TikTok?
What was TikTok?
Right. It changes. So it never ends.
So it's never going to end.
That's why you give birth to children. And children grow up and become adults, and they have their own views and their own interests and their own. Someone sitting in a basement somewhere is going to invent something that, oh my gosh, isn't this great?
That's right.
You know.
That's where we're headed.
How would you explain to someone who, you know, lived in the 70s and 80s, and then let's say, well, you don't explain them anymore because they passed away, let's say, but in their lifetime, for example, in my parents' lifetime, they passed away in the mid-80s. In my parents' lifetime, the idea that you could be somewhere across the world with no electricity, nothing to plug in, that you could take out of your pocket this thing and hit a certain app, a certain place on the phone, and all of a sudden you are looking at their face and talking to them.
Right.
Or you could look up any question.
Yeah.
It's inconceivable.
Correct.
It's inconceivable. And 100 years before, there was no radio. We didn't have electricity, no television, nothing.
But you were, but you don't see yourself as being a part of that, though. You did the same thing. Don't you think that
we're all part of it?
Yeah, but you could have said back then when they were watching Jack Benny, they would have said it's inconceivable that you would have somebody hosting a television show where people were angry at one another, where people were cheating and there were scandals, where people were beating people up on television. You were that guy. You brought that to us.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, nothing. You were TikTok, but that's who you were.
I know.
But you're a legend.
I was TikTok.
But you are.
Yeah, but
it was inconceivable, Jerry. You brought that to us.
Sure, but all I was doing was the show brought it to you. I mean, what I
because you felt that the audience wanted it.
I don't know that ever went through my mind because I don't produce the show.
But you even said today, right? What will the audience want next?
Well, yeah.
The audience wanted
will
your show.
decide. I understand
they wanted that.
Oh, I understand. The show was very popular.
Yeah.
I get that. You know, there's no false modesty there. I understand it was. What I am saying is, if it wasn't me, it'd be someone else standing up there hosting. Someone else made the decision who's going to host.
Fair.
They could have given it, someone who's listening to your show right now.
But it was you.
It happened to be me.
It was
and
you.
That's why I'm saying 99% of life is luck.
Okay.
And you know, when you hear people saying, I made it on my own, I worked really hard. I mean, first of all, there's not a single human being on the planet Earth that had anything to do with the decision to be born.
I understand that. I get that.
No one is involved in the decision whether you're born, to whom you'd be born, in what era you'd be born, with what kind of brain, with what kind of health, in what country. None of that.
Sure.
And I could take Bill Gates, incredibly successful person. If he had been born in Ethiopia, he would have been dead at the age of 5.
I get what you're saying.
So this business
But
about...
get lucky there. I understand.
It's totally that.
But then it's what you do with that luck, with that opportunity. What do you do with that opportunity?
Yeah, but even that ambition, that I have a relatively good mind.
Oh, sure. You need people around you that can support you and get you there.
But
right.
God gave me the good mind. So if I didn't have a good mind, I wouldn't be able to do it. So even if people say that, well, I really worked for it, et cetera, well, that was a gift too.
Listen, I say the same thing. I was very successful at the Elvis Duran show, but it was the chemistry. It wasn't me just doing stupid things. It was the chemistry that made me successful that people liked. I get that. I do. But Jerry, listen, before I let you go here, you got to include yourself. You have to. How could you not? You got to include yourself. You moved the meter. You took us to this new direction, this new generation. You did. You did.
And I've got a hernia because of it. That's tough to move.
That's fine, but you did, Jerry. But you did. You really, you don't, maybe one day you're going to realize it. what you really did. You moved us. You moved television. You moved the viewer. You moved us. You did. That's it. You did.
Well, I hope you like your new location.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
He is Mr. Humble.
Yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, seriously,
Yeah.
Jerry Springer, I never thought when I woke up this morning that I was going to have this incredible interview with you.
Well, you're very easy to talk to.
You're very easy to talk to. You are, I can't believe what I'm hearing from the man, the myth, the legend.
Can I borrow a couple of bucks?
No problem. Listen, for you, I'd give you anything. All right, so Judge Jerry, it can be seen on NBC pretty much everywhere at any time, right?
Check your local, yes.
So check your
And
local
they're
listings.
we're still running the old, there are 5,000 episodes.
I know.
So that keeps running.
Oh, I know.
And, what's great, I can be at home sleeping, and
Right.
it's still running.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jerry's assistant is with us today, and she just reminded me exactly that you can literally see Jerry Springer everywhere you want, in any country, at any time. It's streaming everywhere. Enjoy yourselves and go back. You know what? These kids today are going, oh, look at this crazy show. Really? Go back and watch Jerry Springer, because you wouldn't be watching that crazy show if it wasn't a Jerry Springer. That's the truth.
Yeah. And Sarah's our publicist and does a great job.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she really is.
Well, listen, Jerry, thank you so much. This has been another episode of Greg T's Neighborhood. I'm shaking the hands right now of a man, the myth, the legend, Jerry Springer, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Who will Greg T meet in your neighborhood? What's their livelihood? They run if they could. Oh, who will Greg T meet in your neighborhood? The people that he'll meet each day.